Identity is the key to destiny. And if you don't know who you are, you won't know where you arrived. People don't know what's inside them, and we talk about what's dormant in them. I don't care if you're the mother, you're an asset to your children. It gives you up to 65 pages on who you are based on how God built you. I always say purpose works whether you are aware of it or not, your purpose will work. So her assessment comes up, and you know what it says?
Welcome to Good Neighbor Game Changers.
We're Matt and Brittany, here to help you love boldly, lead with purpose, and shift the atmosphere right where you are.
This is your place to get encouraged, equipped, and activated to live on mission.
It starts by loving our neighbors in life and in business.
This is Good Neighbor Game Changers. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in.
Well, welcome to Good Neighbor Game Changers podcast. Today, I am so excited. We have our very first guest, and we saved the first for the best, not the last. This is Chief Apostle Dr. Paula A. Price. She is the author of Prophet's Dictionary and many, many more gifts, especially when it comes to the apostolic and the prophetic. She is the founder of Dr. Price University here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we have been in each other's lives since 2021, and it's been such a blessing, and I am just very expectant today for our listeners to glean with very much wisdom, insight, understanding. So here we are. I think the very first thing that we want to understand is about our identity.
Well, I agree with you. And you know, I have a slogan. All of my people always follow me with this. Identity is the key to destiny. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going. And even if you go forward, you won't know where you arrived. Because destiny is what? Predestined. And when you get there, it's your destination. So you want to ask yourself, what is your destination in life? For example, today, have you noticed how much culture has been erasing people's identity or either downgrading it? We were talking about it just this morning. And I was thinking, wow, we're watching the literal erasing of the authentic human. That is a real issue. And so if you're talking about identity, here's what you're going to love. I get all excited because, I did author the Prophet's Dictionary. So identity, in the middle of it is dent, D-E-N-T, your character, the imprints. But at the end of it is entity, your being. So all of this is not just incidental. The people who came up with language literally gave a lot of thought to what words meant and what they meant to our personalities and our purpose. So I'm hot on that. I'm hot on that. We talked about the assessments, and we talked about something else that we do that I think is important, and that is we just hire people on their hearsay. People don't know who they are. Do you realize you don't know who a person is until they start acting out, whether that's good acting or bad acting? People don't know what's inside them, and we talk about what's dormant in them. So yes, I'm hot on identity because it is the key to your destiny.
Absolutely. That's so exciting. I know in the previous episode, we were just starting to touch on how we were able to give a DISC personality test based on the Bible, and about Dynasis, which is also, she has founded Dynasis, which is a spiritual assessment, unlike any others out there, because we have taken them all. And so let's talk a little bit about how that came about and what its purpose is, and also how we can get that available for people to take it and walk them through what that looks like.
Well, we do have Dynasis.com. So we have that online. Dynasis, D-Y-N-A-S-S-E-S-S. And it's called Dynasis Human Systemics.
Okay.
And systemic means the actual root of who and what you are. And it's human assets. So the tagline is access your assets. Because every one of us is an asset to somebody. I don't care if you're the mother, you're an asset to your children. Yes. And you're a dad or you're a professional like you are. And so Dynasis goes all the way back. It's been about 25 years that the assessments have been out, but we just brought it together under the name Dynasis. Used to be the standardized ministry assessments. Now, how did they get started? I was called to ministry, and I came from the Bell system. So I was a major account executive and worked with installing, what do you call it? Installing systems. I'll say systems, that's good enough. Installing systems, but also working with corporations when we install the system to help them train their people to use them. Well, you think training is always how to, let's do the technical, okay, go here, push this button. But I realized that there were personality issues and belief systems and values that determine how well they would grasp the use of the equipment. We see that now with today's technology. We have some people like, oh, all you have to do is, and you're like, well, what's this button for? And so I started that. Well, the Lord told me to resign.
This episode is brought to you by Good Neighbor Coffee, our own passion project, brewed with purpose.
At Good Neighbor Coffee, we believe your morning cup should do more than just wake you up. It should inspire you to love boldly and live on mission.
Every bag of coffee you buy helps support local and global initiatives, from building community to funding outreach. It's coffee with a kingdom impact.
So whether you're starting your day, leading your team, or just needing that midday reset, brew a cup that fuels more than just your body. Choose purpose. Choose impact. Choose Good Neighbor Coffee. Order now at goodneighborcoffee.com and let your coffee be part of the mission.
Of course, after crying and feeling bad for myself and calling him a spirit of poverty, I said, you do realize I'm the eldest of 6 children. I'm raised at that time, it was the ghetto in the hood, made no money, and you're telling me to walk away from this lucrative job? I said, that is not God. And so eventually, 6 months, he really worked me. So those of you who feel the call, God will wait you out, and you'll get tired before he does. But that, I digress. You'll get tired long before God does. And so I quit the job. He said, I want you to start a word church and a Bible college, which is how we ended up with Price University. And so I did that. Well, I'm coming from corporate. Now, you're going to love this, I believe, because this was my work. I'm corporate trained. I was trained in major account executive, have Wall Street accounts and all of that. So I'm thinking that's normal. It's not. I come to church, I'm going to have my staff, I'm training my staff, and I realize these people, A, don't know who they are, and B, I don't know what I have.
Wow.
And when you're trying to staff something, you kind of need to have that information. So I began to just research, and I did a ton of research, and we ended up with the standardized ministry assessments, which based on the fivefold Ephesians 4:11. It has since been upgraded, and we'll talk about that at another time. But I started doing it, and it was just very simple surveys. Well, the more I studied it, the more I realized surveys are nothing but just one-liners. I don't want to be defined by one-liners. Do you? And so I realized that I understood people, and I began to develop profiles. And so now the standardized ministry assessments, which are now Dynassess Human Systemics, and I say this because when you go online, you may encounter either or. Dynassess is where you want to go. In it, it gives you up to 65, maybe even more than 65 pages on who you are and who you are based on how God built you. Because, everybody wants to know that, but the problem is when you come to Christians or you come to people who believe in God, somehow or another, they act like the people who go to church on Sunday don't go to work on Monday. It's not the same people. We just take out the prayer, the pew, the Bible, and the song. Okay. Otherwise, the same talent and attributes, as we said, assets, are still required. Well, I started doing this 25 years ago, and then all of a sudden, churches and organizations started doing it. As a matter of fact, one church brought us in, and this was interesting. They had 800 members, and they brought us in to do it, and they had a leadership staff of about 130 people. Wow. And he did not want us to do that away from him. He wanted to sit in on every advisement, because we always have a post-assessment advisement, 15 minutes to help you understand what it is you're reading, because we're not like everything else. We spent 3 days there, walked through 130 assessees. Yeah. Now, what was interesting about it, the reason I brought that up is because his son had just gotten married, and he married this lovely Christian girl who was glad to be a wife. Loved her, okay? Except she got married, and immediately she marries into a ministry family. She's like, hey, girl, you're my first. Now you're going to do ministry things. She said, I don't want to do ministry. And he said, but father, patriarch, matriarch, you're going to do ministry. So her assessment comes up, Brittany. And you know what it says? No ministry indicators at the present time. She screams on the phone.
Wow.
That's how finite it was. So anyway, move just to wrap this up. And so the assessment will start with what you're built, what your strengths are, even your best environment. How many of us have hired an effective employee who was great somewhere else and flops with us? So it begins to take a lot of that out. I don't know if that answers your question, but just to sum it up, Donna says human systemic at the root, at your core. What did God build you to do, and how do you discover that?
So powerful. So powerful. And I also want to bring up how I was able to take it with my husband. And so now we know how we function and how we're different and maybe how we're alike. And that's really been, our home is a lot more at peace now, understanding each other and that it's okay to be different.
And yet you're similar. Did you
And
know
yeah, we're
it?
so,
You're very similar.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I thought that was when we were going through your results. Now, you need to know that this is not something we play around with. You take it online, the system scores it, and it generates your results and your profile. And I was surprised. I was like, boy, God really did put them together. Like,
Yeah, so that's been very, very fruitful for us because we're running businesses together, we're running a household together, we parent together, and we're married to each other. It was a key that unlocked a lot of awareness for us. And so I think that's very encouraging for those of you that are married, that not only do you want to know what your identity is, but also who you are in partnership with. And so, yeah,
well,
definitely.
we just got a referral couple, and it was the same thing. I said,
Yes.
you guys really should be married, but they should do business together because some spouses shouldn't do business together.
Wow.
But this couple, you and your husband, it showed up because you both fit the same environments, the same domains.
Yes. Can you break down the three main things where the mantle, the gifting, and the environment? What does that mean?
Well, this starts out with your dominant. What is your dominant gifting? So now the dominant is broken down into whether or not you are office ready. There is a benchmark for that. If you don't hit that benchmark, then we look and see if you're transitioning from gift to offering. But most people fall in the gift categories, not because they're more or less capable as much as the church has emphasized gifts so much. They only respond to gifts. But if you are called to an office, let's just say, what was kind of like an agency, or you have an agency, and it's kind of like that. So you have people who that can run this thing. If you go on vacation, then you have people who's good at supporting who's running it. That's your secondary gift. And then we have people who are really good in your field and other people who, I don't get it. Well, the assessment does that. So it gives you your dominant gifting, transition or manifestation, and your office. And if you don't hit that, then the numbers will tell you. From there, though, it finds the secondary thing, the thing that always comes to your rescue when you're given something to do. Now, here's something that's interesting about dominate, if you want to think about it. Think about the thing that you do without thinking. You never imagine it, and it's always there. As a matter of fact, for most people, they don't like it. Most people, I don't like that because it's easy, because it's natural, etc. I always say purpose works whether you are aware of it or not, or whether you are deliberate. Your purpose will work. You look at your children, there are certain things they're going to do no matter what. You can tell them not to do it. This is not the time to do it, honey. And they're going to do it. There's purpose working undiscovered. So the assessment helps you discover that. So then after the secondary, so we have the dominant, then we have secondary, that's your supporting. For example, let's just say you got two people who can sing. Both of them sing extraordinarily well. One cannot sustain a song ministry because their secondary could be administration, or it could be helps, or it could be public, or whatever. So now you know how to use two equally good singers. But here's the best part, and I like this part most of all, and that is your best environment. Because we all know the person who is skillful at our competitors' business, at our friends' business, in the family business, and we hire them because they're so good over there. And they come over here and they flop. because this is not their environment. So the assessment has business and finance, it has religion, it has government, it has psychology or community, it has all of those things because you are built for a sphere of domain. And we don't often think about this sphere of domain that we belong in. So that is what happened with you all. And I was surprised you and your husband belong in the same sphere of domain and had a little bit of the same attributes. And so we have that. Then we go to your strengths, we go to your threats. We also go to your emotionality. For example, some people are really great. Let's just say you have this mom. She's powerful until you talk about her kids. All of a sudden, if they say the kid sneezed, she's useless. When you like to know that coming out the gate, but she might need to know because she may not know that that's her reaction or that her talents or her performance slips under those conditions. So it's projected. Then we have something that many high ministers love, and that is what is reliability quotient. And that is telling you who can go through the press and the stress with you without diminishing their performance.
Wow. That is huge and key for marketplace leaders. Also, if you're running a ministry. So that was actually one of my favorite parts, especially when you have two people contending for a position. That can be something that separates and
if
makes your decision. Yes.
If word to a CEO said he was hiring two presidents. I think I shared this with you. He was hiring two presidents, and he said they were equal in every way. He said, you know how I had to make the decision? He said, I had to flip a coin.
Wow.
I said, well, what if you knew that this one was 3 out of 10 straight, and this one here is 7 out of 10? That would have told you which way to go. And then again, we'll talk about the compass, which is the part that people don't know just quickly. But the compass is taking all of that data and turning it into your particular functionality.
Wow. That's incredible. I can't wait to continue our conversation in our next episode.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Enjoyed every moment.
See you next time. Thanks for joining us today on Good Neighbor Game Changers.
If this encouraged you, hey, share it with a friend and keep the movement going.
And remember, real change starts with one act of love.
Let's keep changing the game by loving our neighbors.